Okay, so this is a little bit of a weird topic, and I usually don't cover stuff like this, but it's something that I found so weird and interesting, I just couldn't resist. So, a lot of people ask me about my ethnicity down in the comments below. Okay, people are actually kind of insulting me all the time because of my accent, but they actually mean dialect. So, accent, dialect, two different things, people. Accent is the way you pronounce words. Dialect is, the vocabulary you use or the way you speak in general. So, a lot of people get confused. They see me, I am very clearly of Asian descent, but they see me speaking in American dialect of English and they get confused. And oftentimes I get, kind of the typical stop pretending or stop acting like you're American or something weird stuff. But the thing is, my parents are Indian, but they immigrated to the United States when I was 1.5 years old. I grew up in a suburb of Pittsburgh, and this is kind of my actual, this is how I speak. This is how I grew up speaking. This is how I spoke to others. I really don't know why you would call it fake, but I can understand where some of the curiosity would come from. Now, that being said, over the years of traveling throughout the world, going to India many times, I quickly learned that it's best to adapt your language a little bit based on where you go. So when I'm in India, I do have a little bit of a different dialect I use, not just in India, many other parts of the world, because what happens is I've kind of learned that one, the American dialect is not easily understandable to most people, and number two, people are judgmental, man, especially in India. I've noticed if you speak the way I'm speaking right now, they look at you weird, you get judged. I just didn't want to deal with that. So over the years of traveling there, I've spent months on months there. I've probably spent like a good third or a half of my life there, traveling back and forth, going to family and all that. So I've picked it up. I know how to interact there. I know how to speak there without making it sound like I am very clearly a fish out of water. Now, that being said, why I give you all of this context because of Google Assistant. Now, Google Assistant is one of the more powerful virtual assistants. I don't think it's the best, but it's pretty up there. And what happened was I realized a couple of years ago that Google Assistant was acting a little weird. It wouldn't understand what I was saying, and I just kind of ignored it. And then as time went on, I realized that was happening when I was in India. And then this year, when I kind of got grounded in India, during all this quarantine stuff with the travel restrictions and no flights and all that, I was kind of grounded there for a little bit and I had a lot of downtime. And while messing around, I realized what was going on. And that is that Google Assistant actually is very particular about dialects. And what it does is, if you're in India, it will not understand your American dialect. And I was so confused by this, right? It was so crazy to me. So what I did was, here you go. I'll show you guys two clips that I took. One, I spoke exactly the way I'm speaking now. That's my normal dialect. And then I spoke in a very, very, I would want to say overly stereotyped, kind of typecasted Indian, thick, heavy dialect kind of English, which, this would be very difficult, I feel like, for other assistants to pick up. But this one, I just wanted to see the depth of this. So here are two clips that I'll roll right now, and you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about.
What is the average lifespan of a beluga whale? What is the average lifespan of beluga whale? What year was Ferruccio Lamborghini born in? What year was Ferruccio Lamborghini born in?
So super crazy, right? How that went down. I was so weird. Like, when I discovered that, I was like, oh, what is going on? I felt like I discovered something new that nobody ever came upon. But just to be certain, what I did was I got my iPhone and I tried this on Siri as well. And you guys can have a listen here as to what it sounds like on the iPhone.
What is the average lifespan of a beluga whale?
The answer I found is 40 years.
What is the average lifespan of beluga whale?
The answer I found is 40 years.
So clearly you can see that Google is doing something weird here. Siri did a pretty good job on both ends, but Google doing something crazy. So now that I am back in the US, I decided that this would be the perfect time to demonstrate for you guys what is going on. And I have my Google Pixel 4 right here. What I'll do is I will ask the same question I did before, and we will see what the differences are. And I'll ask in both dialects. So let's do it. What is the average lifespan of a beluga whale? Boom, got it. Okay, let's try out the Indian one. What is the average lifespan of beluga whale? Perfect, got it right there. So let me try the other one I asked too. Let me clear that out. How old is Ferruccio Lamborghini? Perfect, once again. All right. How old is Ferruccio Lamborghini? All right, so perfect again. So you guys can see that when you're, Google Assistant does very different things based on where you are region-wise. And this is not the only place where I noticed it. I also noticed the same thing with Google Maps. Now, Google Maps, what it does is it'll automatically change the voice of the navigation guide, and it's so weird and jarring, right? So when you're in the US, you'll get a different one. When you're in India, you'll get a different one. And I'm accustomed to the one from the US. So when I went to India recently and I hit when I started using Google Maps, I was confused, like, why is this like completely different voice playing? And I spent like, I want to say an hour trying to go through all the settings, trying to see if I changed something, trying to change it back, whatever I could to change it back. And it has never worked. Like it is stuck on that mode, and immediately when I come back to the US, it switches back, and I didn't do anything. I didn't change any setting on my Pixel 4. It automatically changed. So it's like, the thing is, Google is definitely doing something location-based, and there is no setting you can go into that'll allow you to change it. And I did this, I know the first thing you people will say is, check the settings. There's probably a setting there. There isn't. I literally dived into every menu related to the Google Assistant, every phone-related setting I could go into. I tried on different phones. This is a very common occurrence. This is a very this occurs very consistently throughout everything. So it's crazy to me, right? There's no setting I could change that would fix this. It's just the way it is. What I want to know is, I have a gut feeling that this is happening in a bunch more countries. I just haven't been able to test them out. I've only been able to test this out in India. But if you guys have any more experience about this, definitely let me know down in the comments below. I want to hear what you guys think. And have you experienced this yourself, right? You can be from anywhere. If you realize that your Google Assistant acts up when you go to a different country, I'd love to hear about it down in the comments below. It's just so weird to me. Like, this entire thing, it's such a first world problem, but it drives you nuts sometimes. And it took me a while to figure out what was going on. After I figured it out, I was able to kind of learn with it and live with it. But just like that interim period of trying to figure out if I did something wrong or if my phone is wrong, that drove me nuts. So that's it for this one, guys. If you have any questions, again, ask down in the comments below. And if you haven't already, be sure to follow me on social media. I'll have all the handles right up here on the screen. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.